All right, so we've done Horror Fest, we've done Christmas Fest, we even did our first ever Thanksgiving Fest last November. And so today we're going to do the pilot experiment of July 4th Fest, which came to me last night. It's only going to be a 2-day thing, but you could really do this for like 4 days, maybe even 5 days. There's some obvious, well-known titles that you can do for this. You won't see those on the ones that I'm doing, but Bolts last night mentioned that he often does Yankee Doodle Dandy on July 4th. So there you go, a little groundswell already. 1942, is that the year? That movie might be a little later than that. But all right, so we'll get it started, and then so tonight will be tonight's feature presentation. It's one that I've done many times. Return of the Return of the Living Dead, 1985. All right, so this one came out it was released in August of 1985, but for whatever reason, it's got Cinema 84 on there. It says Roman numerals 1984. Probably filmed in 1984, but it is a 1985 release. Serves as a sequel to, if you want it to but not advertised as one, to Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George Romero, and there's a nice reference to it at the beginning. Have you ever seen the movie Night of the Living Dead? But you can see the thing there. I always say Return of the Living Dead, but it's The Return of the Living Dead. Gotta watch it tonight. Today, the 40th anniversary, July 3rd, 1984, is when the events happened in this movie. That is when the Unita Medical Supply Warehouse, you had Frank and Freddie in there, and there was some military drums that, due to a shipping error, wound up in the basement of the warehouse there. And they just happen to have some toxic gas called trioxin, I believe is the name of it. Frank tries to impress the young Freddy by showing it to him and smacks on one of the drums, and the rest is history. That unleashes the gas. There's a corpse in there that it reanimates it. They are able to not kill it but chop it up into little pieces, take it over to the morgue for Ernie, where Ernie works, and have the pieces incinerated and burned up. But the ashes mix with the rain, and it goes into the local cemetery, which, with the toxin and all that stuff, causes all the corpses from that cemetery to be reanimated. So it goes from there. We got Freddy, we got Frank, and then we got Freddy's girlfriend, Tina, and her friends are kind of serve as another pack of the young people in this film who eventually come in, are affected by what is going on. But you have the cast here is going to be Clu Gulager, I think is his name. How do you say his name? Bert. And this guy he played in some little westerns here and there, and he was in he would play like Billy the Kid in some 60s TV show, some 60s western or something. James Karen is Frank, the other guy in the warehouse. Bert's kind of like the leader, the manager, the main manager of the warehouse, and then Frank is kind of like the second man. It's kind of the idea I get. But James Karen in this, and he was in a lot of movies. He was in Capricorn 1, 1974, as the vice president. So he was good in that small role. Don Calfa plays Ernie, the morgue guy, and he is spot on. He's got like these sunken eyes, and he's got this kind of dry humor, and he's the perfect guy for like the morgue and showing him how to do talking about the rigor mortis and the blood, and like showing him how to do the whole embalming and stuff. So he's hilarious. He carries a pistol in his pocket. Now, quick on the draw there, Ernie. So you got him, Don Calfa, and then we got Tom Matthews as Freddy, the young guy who just started working in the warehouse, and he's of course from Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986, as Tommy Jarvis, the last Tommy Jarvis in the series. He's great in that. He's also in Part 2 of Return of the Living Dead. He's been called the Paul Newman of 80s horror films, for whatever it's worth. Kind of a good-looking guy. And we got so Don Calfa as Ernie was he was a hitman in Weekend at Bernie's, and he was also in Bugsy, and he was in Dr. Dolittle with Eddie Murphy. So he's been in a lot of movies himself. Don Calfa, Clu Gulager, James Karen, Don Calfa are all gone. I think we lost to the last one, Gulager, we lost in 2022. All right, so yeah, Tom Matthews is in there. So for the July 4th reference, it's obviously it takes place on July 3rd, all the events, but there's a thing at the beginning where Bert is telling, or Frank is telling Bert, have a happy 4th, see you at the barbecue Sunday. So there's kind of that real sense of that time of year. All right, Beverly Randolph plays Tina. She was really not in anything else, as she's kind of the pure girl in this, who for whatever reason hangs out with the kind of the gang in this. The gang, it's like a clique of I guess they're high schoolers, but you got John Philbin, who plays Chuck, and he is kind of the more relatable character in this, at least to me. He's kind of like this preppy guy, wears a little sports jacket. He's a little nerdy in a way. He's probably kind of like a rich boy, and he's like kind of not very good with the ladies. He's trying to hit on this one girl, but he's a good relatable character. He was in Children of the Corn. He was in Grandview, USA, 1984. And he was in Point Break, 1990. I don't know. I haven't seen that in forever, so forget who he played in that. But Jewel Shepard is the girl I think he kind of likes. Casey, she's kind of forgettable. I'd have to pay attention to her more in tonight's viewing, but she was in a couple of comedies in the 80s called like My Tutor, and she was in Dewey. You seen that one? I'm Your Tutor, Dewey. And then Zapped she was in Zapped. I don't remember if she was in I don't think she had a big role in that, but that was a Scott Baio movie, a comedy, 84, I think. Also same year, or 83 maybe. Brian Peck played Scuzz. He's kind of one of the punk guys. Also not the best guy in real life. Look it up. I'm not going to talk about it, but definitely not he's listed as a very good record. Okay, but he was in Last American Version as Victor. Was that the nerdy guy who, when they did measurements in the locker room, was that guy? I don't know if Victor. He was in Last American Version, 1982, and he was also a body double for Kirk Cameron in Growing Pains. I don't know why they would need a body double for Kirk Cameron. And was he like jumping out windows in that show? I don't think so. And then we get to I talked about the one Friday the 13th alum in this, Tom Matthews, of course, but there's two more, and they are also members of the little gang, and one of them is Miguel Nunez Jr., who is just credited as Miguel Nunez as Spider. He is better in this than he is in Friday the 13th Part 5, but that's of course Reggie the Reckless's brother in the trailer, gets killed in the portalet. But he's even better in this. He's got a little more screen time, obviously, but in the Return of the Living Dead as Spider, he's absolutely hilarious. He's got so many good lines in this. And then his fellow Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, 1985, cast member is Mark Venturini as Suicide. He's kind of like the main leader of the group. He's decked out in all the punk gear and stuff. But Mark Venturini, may he rest in peace. He died of leukemia on Valentine's Day in 1996. But Mark Venturini was the guy who went nuts at the Nut House in Friday the 13th Part 5 and hacked to death the fat kid. Okay, if you remember that he had the axe. Okay, he goes nuts. All right. So you have those two, both from Part 5, New Beginning. So it's good to see those two. They're really good in this. Yeah, Miguel Nunez Jr. is just genius. And then you have a couple more. Jonathan Terry, a couple more worth mentioning. Jonathan Terry is Colonel Glover, and might be my favorite in this whole character in this whole film. Colonel Glover, he's just got this real dry sense to him, and he's waiting for to find out when the military drums we found. He's got this big setup in his house where he contacts military and stuff, but he is really funny. He was in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I'm not sure which character he was, and he also returned in Return of the Living Dead Part 2. His wife is good too, Kathleen Cordell, the Colonel's wife. I liked her a lot in this. What's for dinner? Lamb chops. I had them for lunch. And so she's the Colonel's wife. She's a Broadway actress going back to the 30s. Her debut film was 1938's Who Killed Cock Robin? TOS. And then the last one that I usually add to the credits is Cherry Davis is an actress who does the voice of the half-woman corpse. It's really good. And this is a really memorable scene, and it has a lot of great reaction from Miguel Nunez's character Spider. So that's a really good part. And then this is the kind of thing. So this film was recommended to me back when a video store was closing, and I was still renting from it. And this is the VHS from that store. You can see the little tag there, horror, right there. This is classic. Does it have the thing? Let's see if it has. No, it doesn't have where it's from. It's got the rewind charge, 50 cents, and then be kind, rewind. I know it's backwards on the, because I have the film, but yeah. So, all right, guys. Oh, whoops, messed that up there. Sorry. Yeah, this is like one of those things. Like, yo, you gotta rent that. You gotta get it. I was like, I kind of did it begrudgingly, because usually when people say that, it's no good. But this did not fail. So this was not like a acquired taste film for me. It was like immediately loved it. And there's a few things about horror films that I do not like, that I'm not a fan of. I mean, I don't hate, but I'm not a fan of. Most importantly, comedy in horror films. That's one thing I really don't like. And then the second thing is like reanimated zombie type stuff. So zombie stuff, it's okay, it can be okay, but generally I just don't care for it. And the third thing is anything mid to late 80s, I usually am very hesitant about, shy away from. Okay, this movie has all three of those things, yet it's still great. So that shows how good this movie is. It has like three elements of horror that I don't like, or things about it, but it doesn't matter, because it's done so well that it covers up those things, and even those things are even done very well, I should say. Those things are done well, the zombie and the comedy, and then the year doesn't really matter. It's still got kind of a, it's 84, so it's good anyway. But this works for me. So this works as a straight horror, 80s horror, I should say. It works as I guess kind of like a suspense, as a kind of film, thriller. It works as just a zombie film. And it works as a straight comedy. Where it works the best for me is as a straight comedy, which is rare. However, I do enjoy the horror elements within the film. So it's really, the comedy is laugh out loud stuff. It's really good. even though I don't care for zombie stuff, the special effects, as far as the zombie stuff goes, is undeniably awesome. And it can be kind of funny at times, not campy, but funny. But it can also be scary. So you kind of have both, which is really good. You have the soundtrack is awesome. So the soundtrack, you have Party Time by 45 Grave. You have Burn the Flames, which I love a lot, by a well-known psychedelic pioneer called, his name is Rocky Erickson. And then the song Tonight We Make Love Till We Die is by SSQ. That's Dewey's song. So Dewey loves that song. That's my song. That's my jam. Okay. There's a sequel. Like I said, this is it's kind of seen as a sequel to Return of the Living Dead, but it has a sequel itself called The Return of the Living Dead 2, 1988, which I saw for the second time last year. It's not very good. I don't like it at all. It brings back Tom Matthews. It brings back James Karen. It brings back Jonathan Terry, but they're like different characters or something, and there's a kid in this that's annoying, and I understand there is a cult following for part 2, but the fact that you could bring those guys back, and it's only a few years later to do a sequel, and you can't make a good sequel out of it, is really annoying to me. That they couldn't have made. There's so many ideas that someone could have came up with to make it really, really good. Even done some rehashing would have been fine, but it was a bad movie. I'll never watch it again. Part 3 is like a direct-to-video, 1993. It has nothing to do with the events. And then there's like 2 more called Return of the Living Dead Necropolis, and another one called Return of the Living Dead Rave to the Grave or something. Both of those films, I guess 4 and 5, which they might be referred to, are from the 2005 or something, but not very good. So I highly recommend this. It's a lot of fun. It is I forgot to mention Leanna Quigley. All right, so Leanna Quigley, how could I forget her? She's the last one she's the most celebrated, decorated one probably. She is I forget her name in the film, but she is the scream queen of 80s B-movie horror, but 80s horror. Leanna Quigley, she did her thing in the Night of the Living, as Dewey said. Does the strip thing. She was in like Graduation Day, early 80s. She was in Silent Night, Deadly Night, 1984. Is great in that. She's in maybe like The Initiation or something. She's in a bunch of other kind of low budget 80s films, some that are kind of well known, like the ones I just mentioned. The one she's in that people rarely mention is called The Black Room, 1982. And this one is a deep cut among 80s horror films. It's one that it's one of those like horror fest options that I've never gone to. But it's just one. It's interesting, but it's boring. It's got a young Christopher McDonald of Happy Gilmore. It's got and 5 Aces, and it's got the other notable thing is, for me anyway, it's got the picture of the cover of Jefferson Starship Spitfire, the Asian woman on the dragon with the cigarette or something. So you see that in a room. It's a boring movie, but it's just one of those real deep cuts. But Leanna Quigley is in that too. Highly recommend The Return of the Living Dead. This is one that used to be kind of a go-to for Horror Fest, but it's kind of fallen off of Horror Fest in favor of other things. And now I've kind of really tried to stick it into this time of year, right like July 3rd, give it its proper due. Check it out, guys. Tonight's feature presentation from 1984. Today, the 40th anniversary. I might upload a picture of that. All right, Dewey. You told me to go for it. That's what we're doing. All right, so that's this movie 1 of Independence Day Fest or July 4th Fest. Return of the Living Dead. Thanks for watching, guys. I guess this serves as a review for the film, too. All right, later.